Hey, it is my pleasure today to be speaking with Gabe White. Hey, Gabe, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Bill. How are you?
Now, if I'm doing great, thank you, and I'm very excited because we were joking a little bit before the interview, talking about the fact that I almost live in my whisper room. I do everything but sleep, pretty much, in my whisper room. But this is the first opportunity I've really had to really talk in depth with somebody at Whisper Room, and I love the shirt, by the way.
Thanks, man. We'll get you
Yeah,
one. I think it's shipping out
I'm,
tomorrow. So
I'm trying to put put the screws in there, kind of give you the pressure on a public forum. Now you're obligated. No, I'm kidding. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. First of all, tell me a little more about you. And first, let me say before you do that is that Gabe lives and works in an area that's near and dear to my heart. My mom grew up in Knoxville, East Tennessee, and I spent my entire life visiting my grandparents in Knoxville, and I love the Smoky Mountains, and I love Eastern Tennessee. And so just even the thought about where you're at, again, kind of makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But tell us a little bit about your path that brought you to Whisper Room.
I had an interest in the company when I was in college. That was 7 years ago now. Was familiar with it, and just my background. I grew up as a musician, so I started playing guitar when I was 6 years old.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, my both my parents are musicians. My siblings are also. Yeah, they play piano, guitar, drums, all
Did
that.
you guys all play together? Did you have like a group or a
We
band?
did, yeah. So we played. So I have two brothers that we played in bands as kids, and then throughout high school, and then when I was in my early 20s, spent a couple years pursuing the indie music scene, and
Yeah.
did a lot of touring, and um, even got some vinyls pressed. So
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, so just music and recording, and the DIY aspect of it, of doing it from a bonus room growing up, and then just getting equipment. And I used to record on like a Tascam tape recorder. My older brother knew how to use it a lot better than I did. And then when I got my first computer with digital software, it was kind of opened the floodgates to a whole new world of plugins and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
so that's been a hobby of mine. I pursued it a little bit, but never really made too much money. And then I studied marketing, and I did kind of I booked our tours and did all that side of the work when we were doing music. And in college, when just with marketing and digital marketing, I saw that that's the new trend. So it really interested me, and kind of gave me a clear career path if I really want to get into this stuff.
Yeah.
The internet's taken over, and there's lot of opportunities. So that was like in 2011, 2012, when marketing and digital marketing kind of piqued my interest. And then how I ended up with WhisperRoom, previous to working here. They were a client of mine doing like Google ads and stuff like that. And I had a little bit of a relationship and friendship with a couple of the owners, and just was familiar with the company. And it worked out a few years ago. It just made sense when I got a call from Benton. We sat down and talked about coming on board with the company, and I've loved it since day one working here. So I handle just we're a small business. We have I think about 25, 30 employees. But we have in Knoxville is our corporate office, where there's a couple of sales reps and just a handful of people working in there. And then our manufacturing plant is in Morristown, Tennessee.
Okay.
That's where all the whisper room magic happens. The guys in the shop, they do a wonderful job of just making components all day, testing out new designs for the product. And they just stay on top of everything for our day-to-day operations. And we'd love for you to come visit Knoxville. I know.
I would, well, I go down to there on a semi-regular basis. Would love to do that.
Yeah, you can check out our office in Knoxville, and then we'd be more than happy to show you just behind the scenes of what we have going on at the plant in Morristown.
Well, count on that, Gabe. I will take you up on that. I probably should have mentioned this up front. For somebody who's brand new to this and they say WhisperRoom, I'm not sure I really understand what you're talking about. WhisperRoom, and you feel free to correct me if you have, and being the marketing guy, you may have better terminology or verbiage for this, but it's a prefabricated sound isolation booth that you can assemble easily in your home or wherever that blocks out noise. And that's a very rough. We'll dig more into the details of that. But in case somebody just is watching the same way, but what is WhisperRoom? And I've been using one now for like 11 years. And I was thinking, Gabe, what a great time to be alive for content producers, or those of us who are involved in digital marketing or working from home, like voiceover talent. We typically work for content producers, and we do what we do because technology allows us. But because of that, we now work from home. I probably haven't gone to an outside studio for 5, 6, maybe 7 years. I mean, it's been everything is done in this booth. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of projects have been done in this booth. And 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would have never been able to dream. I remember when I first started thinking about voiceover was in the 90s. And the reason I didn't pursue it at that time, I lived near Chicago. And to do that, at that point in time, you had to have an agent. You had to be available to go into the city for auditions. And if you were lucky enough to get the job, you had to be available to go back during business hours to record in a studio. And if you had a job, I had a family and work, it just made it virtually impossible. But today, because of the technology and because of what people like you are doing at WhisperRoom, we now have the tools to be able to actually to get the job done. Now, looking at your website, I know you've got some high profile folks that use this. Lionel Richie happened to catch my attention.
Yeah, we've had several popular names purchase a WhisperRoom and add it to their home studio because and there's all sorts of uses that people use these booths for, because voiceovers inevitably become pretty much our main or most popular base. Yeah. But audiology is another area where people need a quiet room to perform.
Sure. Yeah.
And home recording studios, practice studios, just for music teachers and whatnot. And there's been all kinds of different uses of our product. And initially 30 years ago, when our company's founder invented the booth, it's a long story. I'll try to condense it, but he's a saxophone player and he was living in an apartment at the time, and he needed a place to play a saxophone. So he built the first WhisperRoom on his back patio, and some of his buddies convinced him that it was an idea worth pursuing. And the company, it's just grown in the right direction over all these years. And the design's been improved on several times. We just try to make it as easy to put together and straightforward, where you can build the room and take it apart, move it, rebuild it, and do that as many times as you need to. So, it's a product that, it's a simple design of just a room inside a room, or a single wall or double wall, but you can use it for so many different uses.
You know, I recently lived in the Chicago area for about 30 years, and we moved to Cincinnati recently. And I'm not like a puzzle kind of guy or a builder type of guy. My daughter and my wife, big time, they love to assemble things. And so they've always taken on the task of, whenever I've moved my WhisperRoom, they do it. But the last time I moved, my daughter and her husband, who live near Chicago, they actually lived 5 minutes from where we were. They said, "Dad, we'll take care of this for you." So they took it down. I'm sure it didn't take more than 10 minutes to take it down. It's not their first time doing it. They took it down quickly, put it in the back of their pickup truck. They drove it down here to Ohio, And they had it up, I think, by the time we, in terms of unpacking and putting up, I don't know that it took more than 20 minutes for the unpacking and putting up. It was a quick process. And let me just say, from a personal standpoint, the big challenge for voiceover when you're first getting started is, there's a number of things you have to learn, but one of the things you have to contend with is sound and noise that you didn't even know existed before you started doing this, because we're kind of deaf to it because we hear it all the time. And most of us in our regular day-to-day, it doesn't matter if the neighbor's mowing their lawn. It doesn't matter if a truck drives by. It doesn't matter if an airplane flies by. It doesn't matter if there's a dog 5 houses down barking. But when you're in voiceover and you need quiet, because the biggest fear is, I'm going to be in a recording session with a client, maybe even a major client, maybe even doing like a national TV ad or something like that. And all of a sudden, the neighbor's going to fire up the snowblower, and I'm going to be embarrassed and look like I'm not a professional. And I say that because I remember that hanging over my head. One day, I worked out of my bedroom closet for about 4 years before I got the WhisperRoom. And I remember, never forget it, one day, I saw my neighbor getting ready to fire up his lawnmower. And I had a session getting ready to start with a client. And I was using ISDN back then when more popular to use. And I had to go ask Joe, my neighbor, politely. I think he thought I was unemployed. He had never seen me leave my house for anything. He didn't know what I did for a living. And I tried to quickly explain and say, do you mind, could you wait for a few minutes till I finish this session? And he was glad to do that. But those are hard, awkward conversations, to have with people.
Right.
I alluded to something to you a little bit earlier before this interview, earlier this week or late last week. I was getting ready to record a session, and I have a neighbor. I mentioned I moved to the Cincinnati area. And if you look out my front window, it looks like a regular suburban neighborhood. You look out my back window, you would think you're in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. It's a huge drop off and a big hill. It's gorgeous, but it's country back there. And I've got a neighbor not more than probably 300 yards behind me who has a rifle range in his backyard. And sometimes for fun, he'll just go out and start cracking off shots. All of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. And I thought, oh Lord, this is not good. So I closed the door to my WhisperRoom. I didn't hear another shot throughout the afternoon. Now, and I think Gabe, you'd be the first to say there is no really 100% solution. What we're looking to do is to minimize and mitigate that. But this saved me. This has taken so much stress out of my life because the amount of, and those of you who are voiceover talent, you know what I'm talking about. A huge thing is, oh my gosh, am I going to have a problem with the session today? Will something happen that I can't control? There's so much that we can't control. This gives me so much control and so much confidence, and it gives me a great product. Are there things you're hearing from voiceover talent or things that they say to you that have kind of stuck out as, this is why we do what we do, or maybe some of the benefits that they enjoy because of it?
Yeah, we've heard, we have so many customers who, especially this past year where people are forced to work from home and it's been a lifesaver for so many of our clients. And then we have so many options, and our sales team does such a great job of consulting with our clients and helping them find exactly what they need. For instance, if you buy a single wall WhisperRoom to start off and find out later down the road, I need to make, this doesn't give me the noise isolation I need, or you move to a new location, you can order the components and turn it into an enhanced double wall. So just the flexibility with our product, we've had so many happy clients who we've heard great things and seen.
Yeah, I should say, Gabe, I'm using a single wall. So, the results I get are just with a single wall.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine if this was, it might be so quiet that it would drive me crazy. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. A single wall. A single wall is very popular with voiceover artists and podcasters. The double wall is more useful if you're playing drums or some amplifiers in there, something that's putting out a lot of sound.
Now, what kind of flexibility is there in terms of like size and shape? Regardless of, I'm sure people work with kind of awkward or different spaces. Is it?
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of flexibility there?
We do. We have 26 different sizes, and our smallest booth is
Wow.
2.5 by 3.5 feet. So it's the size of a small walk-in closet, good for uh, standing voiceover work where you just get in and get out.
Yeah.
And then our largest room is 8.5 by uh, 15.5 feet. So everything is modular. So it's like we have an 8.5 by 15.5, then an 8 foot by 16 foot, and then 8 foot by 14 foot, and 8 foot by 12 foot.
That's like a bedroom. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a full size room. That's awesome.
it is. Yeah, it's it gets pretty large when you put together a room that size. But um, our sales reps and just the product representatives, they'll work with the clients and help them figure out exactly the size. Because I mean, if you're on the fence looking at all the different options and you're like, oh, do I go with a 5 foot by 7 foot or a 4 foot by 6 foot? We'll work with you and show you what that room will look like in your space and give you a good visual representation of the product you'll be getting. And then as far as add-ons to the booth, we have different products to quiet down the ventilation sound.
So there's ventilation. We didn't mention that
There
before.
is ventilation.
That's a good thing to know. So that's a great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You stay alive in here with nice air flowing.
Nobody wants to suffocate in the place where they work.
That's right. We don't want that to happen. So we've put some thought into our ventilation system. And I know you said you shut yours off or you don't even have it hooked up when you're recording. And that's very popular with voiceover, just because you get the microphone turned up to you have your own style of knowing what you want. So there's so many bells and whistles you can add to a WhisperRoom, considering like acoustic treatment, bass traps, and panels we have in the background. They're from Automute, but so that we have the sound isolation portion is what we offer, and then on treatment. So,
you mentioned Automute. That's another company I do some work with. As a matter of fact, in my mixing area, I produce a lot of demos. I'm putting up Automute Strata.
Awesome.
Right now. So that's a good combo right there between you two guys. So there, so there's not only are you taking care of that noise problem or challenge, but there's a lot of flexibility and customizability with your product.
That's right. Yeah. We have pretty much any size room you're looking for. We can have that available for you. And then whatever your acoustic needs are, we have a handful of products that fit strategically in the walls, and even we have some products that offer you flexibility to adjust the panels to help with diffusion and absorption. Because being in a square room, it's not an untreated square room. It's not a brilliant space as far as acoustics are concerned. So a lot of effort into helping treat the room to give it a nice sound for whatever the user.
So if somebody were to get like a square type booth from you, you can kind of mitigate the issues that might come from, and I'm not an engineer, so I wouldn't even try to talk that language about sound and then frequencies and all of that. But you can take care of that kind of thing strategically with how you set it up.
We sure can. Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
And we're always there too if a client needs some advice or if they're running into issues. Just give us a call and we'll talk you through different things to try.
Well, you described yourself as a small company earlier on, and you may be in terms of employees, but you're having a huge impact in a variety of different markets, and certainly in the voiceover world. I mean, you've had a huge impact on my business. Like I said, I've recorded thousands upon thousands of projects in this booth over the past 12 years. So thank you for that. You've made my life so much better. And in terms of producing a consistent quality product for my clients, which is, if you're going to have a business, as you know, you've got to be able to do that. And so you have allowed me, as well as many other of my colleagues, to do that. So thank you for that. And for those who are thinking, maybe it's time for me to look at this, how would somebody go about doing that? How would they go about contacting you for that?
Yeah, so you visit whisperroom.com. We have all of our different sound booth models on the website, and our catalogs available. So you can spend time browsing through all the options. All of our prices are listed. We don't hide anything from the customer. And then rather than purchasing online, you fill out a quote request for what you're looking for, or shoot us an email, or pick up the phone and give us a call. And from that point, you'll be working with one of our product representatives who just fills you in on all the options you chose, explains the delivery process, and reassures that you chose the best model for your situation. So yeah, just simply visit our website or call us anytime, and we'll get you what you need.
And you seem like you're pretty easy to deal with. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here, so you get a face to what's going on, because you're a guy, I can tell you really like to help people, and you enjoy seeing other people succeed through the product that you have to offer. So I appreciate you again taking the time to do this. Gabe White, Marketing Director of WhisperRoom, and I hope you'll reach out and talk to WhisperRoom today. Gabe, thanks for your time. It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Likewise, Bill. Thank you so much.
Cut. There we go.
All right.
Awesome. You were fantastic.